Welcome to this session, Simplify and Validate Database Migration to Oracle Cloud using Enterprise Manager. My name is Björn Boltoft and I'm Consulting Product Manager in the Oracle Observability and Management Enterprise Manager team. And together with me I have Harish Nidagata, who's Director at the Product Management team. In Enterprise Manager we have a migration and consolidation recommended process. You have decided to migrate your database. So how should we ensure that all requirements are met to eliminate regression and ensure application quality? Enterprise Manager has a recommended process, and if you want to buy a full insurance, you should follow the process here. We start to analyze capacity needed, then we decide migration strategy, then prepare for test by recording the production workload. Clone your production database using same method that is planned for production migration. Use SQL Performance Analyzer to identify SQL regression, and before continuing with database replay, make sure all regression are redeemed by using Tuning Advisor or SQL Plan baselines. When this is solved, use database replay to identify bugs and validate performance during full production workload. You have now done all you can to proactively validate your database migration. So it is time to perform the migration of your production database. But we also know that even how much testing done, it may be some regressed statements left. So when you start to run your production in your new environment, our recommendation is to use workload analysis to identify regression, which can be redeemed in the same way using Tuning Advisor or SQL Plan baselines. This session will focus on the initial phase where we decide about sizing and how to move your database. Enterprise Manager have two features that will help you in this process: Migration Planner and Migration Workbench. Migration Planner is a sizing advisor where your input is a single database or a group of databases, where we analyze capacity used and calculate capacity needed. And for a consolidation, it will also provide you with where to place databases optimally on the new hardware. Migration Planner will help you to decide migration strategy for each individual database, perform the physical migration, monitor the migration process, analyze expected performance, and after completion, clean up dump files and other non-needed artifacts. Let's first have a look at Migration Planner. When migrating to a new environment, the biggest challenge is to calculate capacity needed based on capacity used. Most important is to know resources needed for CPU, memory, storage, and I/O. Another challenge is to know if it will be enough, what the utilization trend looks like. Is it a system with increasing demands or is it a stable system? As an example, if I have a yearly 10% growth, then for how long can I have the selected size? The migration by itself can be expensive, so we want to ensure that the configuration lasts long enough. We want to know, will it work next year or 2 years from now? Can we add resources so we can grow within the selected size? And when do I have to migrate again? This is where Migration Planner can help you. Migration Planner is a comprehensive analytic solution for planning both consolidations and single migrations. Analyses are done based on historical data from both the host and the individual database. We collect host and database metrics together with AWR data, and by knowing current CPU, I/O, storage and memory utilization and specs on the current server, then we can perform advanced analytic calculations to estimate capacity on new hardware. And this is something that we can do for databases as old as 10.2. When calculating capacity needed, we can do it for existing servers or phantom servers. For phantom servers, it can be done based on CPU spec metrics for commodity hardware. But if you plan to migrate to Oracle Cloud or engineered systems, then we have the complete knowledge about both CPU and I/O and memory. In that case, we can perform a complete analysis of both IOPS and I/O throughput needed. What will Migration Planner help you with in the planning phase? When migrating one database, we can perform initial analysis based on the current utilization, but we can also use trending information to calculate growth. So by adding a growth factor for each year, it is possible to see when CPU or memory will go beyond the limit on the selected cloud shape. You can also select an Exadata size, and it will be possible to understand if it will be enough for 1-2 years or even longer time. And if the selected size is too small, then we can try with next size. Migration Planner will also provide you with information regarding which resource that will become the bottleneck. If you have a volatile workload, then we can try autonomous database with the capabilities it has to perform scale up and scale down. And Migration Planner will perform analysis for autonomous databases as well. All applications are different. Some are CPU bound, others may need memory or I/O or storage. Migration Planner provides information on utilization on each resource at a given time. If you want to consolidate several databases, then Migration Planner is an excellent tool that will help you with the sizing. The tool will provide us with utilization for each database, and it will also summarize the utilization and do it for all databases together. When a destination server size is selected, then it will provide us with the amount of servers of this size that it needs. If an individual database doesn't fit, it will be excluded and the violation is reported. So when is the server size too small for an individual database? In Migration Planner, it's possible to set up limitations. So a certain resource like CPU memory can be set to a certain percent of the total capacity, and that will help us to define if the workload is below the set limit. So Migration Planner is not just a migration of a single database. You can also migrate several databases or a fleet of databases. In the fleet consolidation, there may be constraints that we need to follow. As an example, it's not allowed to co-allocate production and test databases. Different locations can't coexist, or gold, silver and bronze applications needs to be separated. Migration Planner can use these constraints and a few others to make sure databases are placed accordingly. And it will also calculate the capacity needed for each constraint. Our mapping is now done, and the result will be displayed in line chart or heat maps, showing us the confidence of the potential migration. The confidence is shown hour by hour based on historical data. Blue and various nuances of green is fine. Yellow is close to the limit, while orange is above the limit but below the 100% utilization for the server. So a summary of what Migration Planner will provide. Estimated resource utilization under various consolidation scenarios. We can use different algorithms such as ultra-conservative, where hourly peak maximum is used. And we have 3 additional steps with an aggressive scenario where hourly average is used instead. It supports database to database consolidation, database to server consolidation, and various Oracle Cloud consolidation and migrations. It provides consolidation optimization advices, such as if there are conflicts based on workload characteristics or if it is Exadata suitable. It provides storage platform advice, compression impact for both I/O and storage, the impact of Exadata I/O offloading and flash cache. It collects ADDM findings for all databases and compiles them to a common list. So now we have done the sizing exercise. We know what to move and where it fits, both together with other databases and in the size of the machine. Now it's time to move the database. Of course, testing is essential, so always test the decided strategy. Let's see how we can simplify the migration using Migration Workbench. But to begin with, let's look at common reasons for performing a database migration. There are 3 different reasons for database migration. Number 1, you want to migrate to Oracle Clouds. Number 2, you want to move to multi-tenant architecture. Number 3, you are looking to re-platform your infrastructure. So let's look at your plans to migrate databases to Oracle Cloud. If you have decided to migrate your application to Oracle Cloud, general recommendation is to migrate entire applications and database stacks together. With this approach, you can handle application and database dependencies, retain huge tuning efforts you may have put in over a period of time to tune system and make it perform as per business need. Now when you have decided to move either with autonomous databases, database cloud service or Exadata cloud service, you need a tool that will help you to identify various database components, dependencies, and help you in migrating databases to Oracle Cloud. Second need is your intent to consolidate single instance databases to pluggable databases. You might have deployed many 11G or 12C standalone or rack databases across your data center, and your organization wants to see the benefit of multi-tenant architecture such as consolidation or ops automation. To achieve this goal, you need a tool which will help you to migrate single instances to pluggable databases. Finally, if you have upgraded your infrastructure from legacy hardware to new generation systems or cloud, or to consolidate instances using engineered systems, you need a tool which will help you in migrating databases running on legacy hardware to new generation systems. With Migration Workbench, you can migrate databases as old as 11G until the latest 21C single or rack instances to various destination databases such as on-premises, Exadata, multi-tenant databases, Oracle Cloud Autonomous or Exadata Cloud Services, or Oracle Cloud Services, which are running on Linux, Oracle Solaris, AIX, or Windows operating systems, using data pump or transportable tablespace migration method. We give you the flexibility to choose source and destination environment based on Migration Workbench support matrix shown here. So Migration Workbench has 3 steps for migrating the databases. Now let's look at all steps in details. The first step is the planning phase. In the planning phase, Migration Workbench gives you a launchpad for managing migrations, such as creating migration, scheduling them, tracking migrations which are in progress, or migrations which needs DBA action. With the help of the launchpad, DBAs can customize any migration, track migration process in real time, have the ability to act when migrations which are in progress, with actions like pause, resume, or cancel entire migration workflow. Using the launchpad, DBAs get the powerful tool to drill down at object level and deep insight reasons for failing objects. DBAs can do view analyze of before migration, validation checks, which are already carried out, overall status of export and import activity, and any errors or warnings which are reported during export and import phase. Using the launchpad, DBAs can do comparison and performance analysis of source and destination workload. Here is an example how you can achieve minimal downtime migration using Arman transportable tablespace method. Traditionally using data pump, schema, or full database migration, entire database or selective schema data is exported using data pump and loaded into destination database or schema. Transportable tablespace migration has 2 phases: creating backup and complete migration. In create backup phase, entire content of the source database is moved to destination database via initial full source database backup. And in complete migration phase, incremental content of the source database is moved to destination database via one or multiple incremental backups and loaded into the destination database. You have also option to complete migration using TTS migration without taking incremental backups with single backup for small size databases. After this phase, metadata of source database is moved to destination database by keeping source table spaces in read-only mode. Migration Workbench offers integration with tools like Ansible, Sheaf, and Terraform. Workbench help you with creating a copy of Workbench help you to create a copy of pre-filled JSON file to integrate with your choice of third-party tool or orchestration engine. Pre-migration analyze, full database, schema migration, and transportable tablespace migration flow of Migration Workbench are available for REST API automation. Migration Workbench comprehensive REST API-based interface help you to build, run, and manage easily. Now migration phase is completed and you enter into analyze phase, where you can do step-by-step analysis of the migration. Once final database migration job completes, you can do view analysis of before migration validation checks, which are already carried out, overall status of export and import activity, and errors and warnings which are reported during the export and import phase. For any failed objects, you can get more insights and reasons why migration failed for specific objects. Migration Workbench has a built-in step for performance comparison. During the planning phase, we capture SQL tuning set. We compare SQL performance before and after the migration. For performance comparison, Migration Workbench using SQL Performance Analyzer. Migration Workbench performs typical steps such as running SQL Performance Analyzer on source database, capture performance information, migrate database, run SQL Performance Analyzer on destination database, analyze the performance of pre- and post-migration activities. All these steps are carried out automatically in Migration Workbench. As a DBA, there are no additional manual steps in this process. SQL Performance Analyzer can perform analysis based on different metrics. In a migration scenario, lapse time, CPU time, and user I/O time are very important to make sure that the performance meets the requirements, and to make sure that the new platform has no negative impact on execution plans. Then we compare optimizer cost and buffer gets. If we move into Exadata, then we can also do I/O interconnect bytes measurement. Migration Workbench support migration from on-premise to autonomous databases. In this example, we have selected on-premises non-CDB database and using data pump full database migration method, migrating to Oracle Autonomous Database. Migration Workbench support migration with new PDB creation or migrating into an existing PDB. While doing database export, Workbench take care of backup encryption and transferring to OCI storage bucket. As part of the migration planner phase, pre-migration analysis is carried out to discover potential problematic content, dependency analysis, and other factors that could prevent a successful migration. Finally, after migration, we can do automatic before and after migration performance analysis using SQL Performance Analyzer. So as a summary from Migration Workbench, Migration Workbench supports a large amount of different use cases. It supports on-premise to Exadata Cloud at Customer or Exadata Cloud Services, bare metal or VM-based database cloud services, or on-premises to on-premises migration. You can migrate single instance databases, rack databases, and pluggable databases using data pump or transportable tablespace migration method. You can migrate single instance rack databases, pluggable databases using database pump or transportable tablespace migration method using UI or REST API based migration. So let's wrap up and summarize benefits of Migration Workbench. Migration Workbench gives you a unified end-to-end experience for all types of cloud and on-premise migrations. It carries out pre-checks of source database for migration suitability, offers drill-down analysis during migration, providing before and after workload comparison report to ensure no performance bottlenecks, supports seamless variety types of cloud or on-prem migration using UI or REST APIs. And it offers reduced operating cost, near zero downtime, and assured zero data loss migration using transportable tablespace solution. If you want to learn more about Migration Planner and Migration Workbench, please use the links on this page. Thank you for listening to this session. We're now opening for questions.